Hello and welcome to the Booktube Chicks Book Club. Tonight we are doing a live discussion of My Mechanical Romance by Alexene, Farol, Follmuth. And this is a YA contemporary written by the author of the Atlas Six. And tonight we're going to spend the next hour or so talking about this book. So, as usual, I am here with Kathleen from For the Love of Books and Desiree from Libri Labra, who I will let them introduce themselves in just a minute. But if you have never been to one of our live shows before, for the first couple of minutes, we're going to do spoiler-free discussion of our initial thoughts and ratings, and then we're going to go into spoiler discussion of this book. And really quick, this book, a quick synopsis, is this is about a girl who needs an extracurricular, and I think it was to get out of, she got in trouble for something, like a paper she didn't do. And she needed an extracurricular, and she had to audition or try out for the robotics team, and it turns out she's really good at robotics. So that is the ensuing story. And I'm going to pass it over to these ladies to introduce themselves and their initial thoughts. Kat, if you want to go first, since you're next to me.
Sure. Hi, my name is Kathleen, and I rated this book 3 stars. I didn't necessarily hate the story. I thought it was interesting. There were some elements that I really enjoyed, but overall, I thought the story was very, very average, and I thought some of the characters were a little bit immature. So I ended up just giving it 3 stars. It was hard for me to really relate or not relate. It was hard for me to just really get into the story and get into these characters' heads because, again, I just didn't connect with them. I thought they were just really, really immature at the end. And I liked the whole story with, our main character trying to get into like the robotics team and, being kind of this story kind of focuses on, some of the struggles that women go in the STEM field. So I kind of enjoyed that. I liked that the author kind of touched upon it, but I felt like she could do more. So I did end up giving this book 3 stars.
Hi, my name is Desiree. You can find me at Libri Labra on all the things like Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And I loved this book. I give it 5 stars. And I feel like it really spoke to me. I didn't think that, it's young adult, but I didn't feel like the characters were immature. I felt like they were kind of behaving their age. And I love the writing. I love the pop culture references. It just, I don't know, it really spoke to me, and even the romance I thought was nice. And yeah, so I gave it 5 stars.
And my name is Chloe. You are on my channel, and I rated this book 3 stars as well. While I enjoyed it in the moment, it's not something that really sticks with me or is like an all-time favorite book. The whole reason that I even had this book on my shelves was because I had seen it going around and figured, why not? And and thought it would be something that I would enjoy. It's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, but in the grand scheme of everything that I read, it kind of just lands on the okay scale. I do agree that it does showcase some struggles of women in STEM, even at the high school level. And we're also following basically I don't want to say the life of a robotics team, but different struggles of suddenly joining the robotics team and seeing the behind the scenes of what it's like on that team. And we're also seeing the struggles of being a child of divorce. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this book, and it was enjoyable in the moment, but not something that really resonated permanently, if that makes sense. So if we'd like, we can actually go ahead and go into spoilers for this book, wherever we would like to start. 。 . . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
. We could probably start with like the divorce, since that was like one of the things that you just mentioned. um I feel like, not that I have parents that were necessarily divorced, so not that I actually know from experience, but it felt like a fairly accurate representation in regards to um when a marriage ends, and it's so hard for the parents not to, in some way, sometimes inadvertently, force their children to pick sides, whether it be, just to pick where to live, or which parent is providing the most support, or whatever the case is. And that just can be really stressful on a kid who has nothing to do with why their parents got together, why their parents broke up, or any of those things. And I thought that Belle kind of expressed her thoughts well in regards to how she was experiencing all of that.
Yeah, and especially when you have 3 kids who are of varying ages, especially 2 that are adults and are in college at that point. That we got the experience of the youngest sibling, but definitely, experiences all around with the different ages.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't have, like Desiree, I don't have parents who are divorced. In fact, my parents have been married for 42 years. So I've been lucky that I have had parents who love each other and had made their marriage work. But I do agree. Obviously, again, I don't know for experience, but to me, it did seem like a genuine reaction to her parents divorcing. So, but again, I don't know from firsthand experience. It just, to me, it seemed genuine. So yes, I do agree with you that it does seem like an accurate representation.
And I, being the child of divorce, would would agree. It does seem like an accurate representation, especially from it gives perspective to different I don't want to say different styles of divorce, but like different lifestyles post divorce. Because this, in this particular instance, they got to pick where they wanted to live. I was shuffled between houses for 12 years.
Yeah,
So
because your parents divorced when you were really, really young. They're already
yeah,
a little older, right? So yeah, I
yeah,
guess
I was
it's different
5.
experience. Yeah.
And there's a lot of there was some talk at some point in this book. The main character was saying that there had been like discussion of whether her father cheated on her mom. I don't know if we ever got an actual answer to that. At least I can't remember off the top of my head. But it definitely this was definitely a perspective of am I picking the right side? Like am I going against my mom if I go to visit my dad? I mean, there was a ton of thoughts with that.
Yeah. It's funny because again, I'm not a child of divorce. So but it's funny that it's different experiences depending on when your parents, and also it also depends on why did they divorce. Was it cheating? Because there are plenty of parents who divorce and they end up separating amicably. So and then there are those parents who divorced and it's like a nightmare, a dumpster fire. So it's I guess never really thought about all the different experiences that come from just divorce. So
And then on the flip side of that, you have like Mateo, who's experiencing just this like overbearing father who's, telling him like he has to go hard, 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 not really letting him kind of actually experience life. And he gave him like this whole speech about how, they trust him to be responsible with his life decisions, and that if he's not, they're going to start treating him like a kid. And it's just like, he should be allowed to have a girlfriend. Like,
he shouldn't be allowed to, be at his age too.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like overbearing, but at the same time detached.
I don't know. I feel like parents like that. I don't like. Did you grow up in that household and you thought it was okay, and then you're gonna implement that on your child? Yeah.
I mean, usually I feel like a lot of times what happens is you grow up and your parents are a certain way. So by the time you become a parent, you swing the pendulum all the way the other way. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, my parents were really strict, so I'm going to be really very not strict. Or, if they were too lenient, then you're like, oh, they were too lenient, so I'm going to be really strict. So it's just kind of like a swinging back and forth, I feel like. So, maybe Mateo's dad just didn't have the structure or whatever that he felt that he should have had or that he needed. But still.
Desiree, I'm kind of curious because I know you and I were briefly talking about it earlier today, how we're growing apart from young adult books. So I kind of want to hear more of your thoughts on why you rated it 5 stars.
I don't know if it was the fact that, just sitting with that lately, sitting with the idea that like I just haven't been loving young adult books, that I had like no expectations while reading this. But I think really what it is for me is probably how I feel about the author, and not necessarily as a person, but I just really like her writing. And the way she explains things. And, I feel like for me, being a geek or whatever, there's just like certain ways to talk to geeks. I just really, really like when pop culture references aren't like shoehorned into the story, but they're just like a natural part of either the characters' personalities or the world or like whatever. And I felt like she did that so well because she was dropping so many things. Like at some point, and this is not really anything about being a nerd, but the fact that she mentioned like AOC's red lipstick made me scream. I was like so excited
I remember
because
that. Yeah.
I have actually like looked up the color of AOC's lipstick and bought it. It's like my favorite red lipstick. So it's just like weird things like that. Like it just genuinely just spoke to me. And
so it's more the author who really you just enjoy like the books that she writes.
The way she writes it. Yeah, and this makes me super excited to read that other book. I think it's like Alone with You in the Ether. That's like the adult romance one, slightly probably. I mean, I know it does tackle mental health, so but I expect it to be like super emotional, and like I don't know, I'm super excited to read it now.
Do you because you finished the Atlas 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I never finished it, so and I also don't remember. So do you feel like it's the same person even though it's two vastly different genres? Do you still feel like the writing I don't want to say the writing style, but do you feel like it still has a similar voice?
It has like a core of something. Definitely more lighthearted here, whereas I felt like the Atlas 6 was very academic, which is something that a lot of people had trouble with. Like people that complain about it are just like, oh, this feels so crap. What's the word I'm looking for? Where people think they're just so smart and hoity-toity. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking
like
for.
Snobby?
Yeah, like kind
Arrogant?
of snobby. Yeah, no, just more like dealing with intelligence, like almost like in a bragging way. So I don't know what the word is, but a lot of people felt that her writing was like that, and I can see it in the Atlas 6, but I definitely don't see it here in this book. But there's still like I feel like her heart is still in it. Like I know her heart. I don't know. But it makes me wonder, because I don't know poop about robotics. Like, I've never been in robotics club, but it makes me wonder if she was, if like how well the robotics translated.
If she was in a robotics team?
Yeah, like if she's connected to it in that way, or if she just researched robotics. Like, why did she write this book revolving robotics?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it could be from experience, but a big talk nowadays is how women struggle in STEM, and how oftentimes that, you know, they're trying to break into the industry, they're met with, you know, kind of like backs and closed doors, and it's a struggle for women. So I don't know, maybe she saw something about it, a news article, I don't know, and decided to write on it and really research it. But I do like that she did this. I liked the concept of the story that she touched upon, and that she, you know, we see a lot of struggles with women already in the field and the kind of like the challenges that they face. So it was nice to see it from a younger person, someone starting at the very beginning of, you know, getting really into getting interested in the STEM field.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I think you can often tell when a writer is writing about something that they've researched versus something that they're actually like a part of or have engaged in or have experienced. And I wish I knew about robotics enough to identify which was the case for her. Because I feel like that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
So I haven't read any reviews. Have you guys? Like, I'm curious. No.
I've read some reviews. It's really, the book has really, really good reviews. It has a 4.01 rating, I think. So people are really enjoying it.
I'm guessing because I think this came out last year. This was released post Atlas 6.
Yeah, it was definitely
Atlas 6 was originally
newly released though.
Because Atlas 6 was originally self-pub, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then it got picked up, and then everybody was fighting over the original indie published books.
I have one.
Girl, you don't know the treasure that you have. You could sell it for a lot of money. Those BST sites, they go crazy over that book.
Oh my god, that's funny. I know that like I follow her on Twitter, and she was very clear about the fact that this was so different than anything else she's written than the Atlas 6, and that's why she chose to use a completely different name. I think this is her actual real name, I think. And then like Olivia Blake might be a pen name, I think.
Yeah, because if you, or I don't know how I found out, if somebody hadn't told me that this was her, I wouldn't have known.
Same. Yeah, and I like that. I like when authors kind of branch out. Like, I don't know if like the genre of Atlas 6 is the genre that she prefers to write, but you know, I like it when authors kind of like jump into a different genre and they do it well. But I'm glad that she did it, and hopefully she'll write more. So
I think what's also interesting is that a lot of times authors start at YA and then go adult. Mm-hmm. So the fact that she went the other way, I thought was kind of interesting, especially with the amount of popularity that the Atlas 6 had. I'm gonna try to look into her motives for writing this book a little bit more, because I love it. You
can also maybe write to her.
Mm-hmm. I love it when like authors talk about it and they're like, she might be like, oh, I have a little cousin who's in robotics, and you know, I wanted to make her feel better, or whatever the case is. Yeah. There's usually interesting stories.
And you know, besides the main character, I think she really took the the stigma with women in STEM and put it into, I can't remember her name, the side character that was always crotchety.
No,
Belle, is that Belle her name, or no? Or is that the main?
No, Nalim. Wait,
maybe it was.
Yeah, Neelam.
Yeah.
Because I really think she, you know, even though this character was, you know, not very happy throughout the majority of the book, towards the end, we got that, you know, discussion between her and, what is this main character's name? Her and Belle.
Yeah.
That would, that really brought that to the forefront. I mean, it was in the forefront the entire time, but it really kind of addressed it word for word.
I feel like this book also contained like quite a few, you know, conversations about diversity not just about women in STEM, but also like, different heritages. And I like how food was also incorporated into it. Because the main was Belle. I think I was a little bit confused because I thought her mom was speaking Spanish at some point. Was Belle mixed or was she Filipino?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. I'll have to go back and double check that.
I think she was mixed, but I don't remember.
Okay. Because it sounded like they mentioned Filipino stuff quite a bit and they were eating Filipino food and stuff. But then I thought I heard her mom speaking Spanish. So I know they can sound similar. So I don't know if my brain was just doing something weird or if she was mixed.
So I kind of want to talk about the ending for a second because it didn't go the what I would say traditional route or way that you might expect it to go, where it's like, oh, they're at the the big robotics competition that we all knew was coming, and they're going to do it together and they're going to realize that they love each other or they're going to make up or whatever. And instead he got sick. And she had to face it, not on her own, but she had to face it on her own. And
I actually kind of really enjoyed that. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to slightly with them being together, even though I knew it was going to be cheesy. But I kind of liked the way the author did it. It kind of, yes, she wasn't doing it by herself, but in a way she was by herself. And it kind of like, I don't know, it felt like the author was kind of like giving her a chance to kind of rely on her own strength by herself and kind of putting her in a position to do that. And I actually really liked that the author chose to do that, to have her do it by herself rather than with him.
And I'm also glad that, kind of leading towards the ending, I'm glad that the author gave a realistic expectation of her not getting into MIT.
Yes!
I was going to be like, I swear to God, if she got in.
Because I had a friend, and she, this was way back in high school. I don't even talk to this person anymore. But she had her heart set on going to FSU. And I was like, where are you going to go to? What else are you applying for? She was like, no, I'm going to go to FSU. It's my dream. And she didn't get in. And I was like, it gave me flashbacks to that moment. I was like, oh, damn, she didn't get in. But I'm also like, everybody knows that you need to, even though you have your heart set on a one particular place, you should apply everywhere, But I was like, as that scene, I was like, it gave me like deja vu of the fact that she did. But I did like that the author kind of like gave us like an after, like the epilogue where she ended up going to, what was it? Berkeley, yes, which is also an amazing school. So.
But also she kind of painted the picture because she was like, oh, can I appeal? And I don't know who she was talking to when she said that, but they were like, well, just to let you know, chances, like a lot of the time when people send in an appeal, it's with a pretty large donation. So just kind of
and like
setting those expectations as well.
Yeah. But I agree. I like that the author kind of threw that in where she didn't get it, because it would have been like super cheesy if she'd gotten into MIT and lived happily ever after. But I did like that she didn't get in, even though I'm sure it was very sad, but still.
And kind of like a tiny gripe that I have towards the end of the book, because it happens in all of the young adult romance rom-coms, whatever, is at the very end where they're like, I love you, and I'm like, you're a baby. I'm like, I guarantee you don't. You are a baby.
But they're in college. Didn't you meet Will while you were in college?
That's a good point.
They said,
how long did it take you to tell Will you love him?
A while.
What's a while?
Like months.
This is months, right?
But hold on.
Hold on. This didn't feel insta-lovey to me. Are you saying you felt like it was insta-lovey? Because I didn't get that impression.
Not so much insta-lovey. It was more like, because they weren't in college when they said it, I don't think. Now I have to find it. I'm like determined to find it.
It was cringy, right? It was cringy. There were some moments I thought was cringy.
I'm going to find it, though.
I didn't even think about that. I think it was the scene of like their first kiss. I thought I cringed so hard during that scene, but so I didn't even the one that where they said I love you didn't even faze me. But
so I dated my first boyfriend at 14, and we were probably dating for like a month or a month and a half before we started saying I love you. And I would never ever look back on that particular relationship and say, oh my God, I didn't love him. Or, or, oh my God, I didn't know what was going on. Like, we were together for like a year and 10 months. He went to my prom. I went to his prom. Like, at the time, I totally would have, like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry this guy. I mean, like, obviously that didn't happen. But like, like I was definitely in it, and I felt like I was mature enough at that time.
I agree. I think as we are getting older and we're, going away from our teens, we start to think of teenagers as babies. And really they are compared to us. But I feel like I remember being that age, and I remember, all my boyfriends, and I truly, truly cared about them. I can't say that I love them, but I do truly care about them. So I don't know. I don't want to say that every teenager who says I love you to each other in the end doesn't know what they mean.
And I also think that things are a little different now. Like, when I look back on my life and all the stuff that I was doing, like at a really, like I had my son by the time I was 21. My son is 21 right now. And like, whenever I tell him that, he's like, his eyes go really wide, because obviously he cannot for the life of him at all think of having a kid right now. Like,
you're like, where's your kid? You need to catch up.
So I don't know. I think definitely I wouldn't necessarily say it's like everybody as a whole, but life is different. Like, it's harder to go out on your own and get your own place and do things. The economy, the market, like, I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah.
But I do like that in the end they decided to have a long distance relationship. Because I guess.
And they were realistic about it, of like, we're not gonna, what was it? We're not gonna try and contact each other every day. Like, it was more of a realistic response.
And long distance relationships are hard.
You have the firsthand experience.
I have been in more than one.
So. You mean John is not the one and only?
Long distance relationship? Nope. I was in 3. I was in 3 long distance relationships. What is that face? What does that mean? Wait, hold on. Is that even accurate? No, it's not. It was like 4.
Girl.
One of it was just that, like, my boyfriend went away to college, my first boyfriend, and so I wanted to break up. He was like, no, let's stay together.
But, how long did that last?
Yeah. I mean, again, we were together for like a year and 10 months, and he was in school for a while before we broke up, but it was definitely like the slow downfall. And I looking back, when I think about the fact that I was like, no, have your college years, have fun. You don't want to be tied down. Like, I was the younger one, but I was the one being like, no, live your life. If we're meant to be together, we'll be together afterwards. But he was like, no, we should stay together.
He's like, no, I want to be tied down. I kind of want to just briefly touch on, because I made this note in my notebook when I was reading, that Teo was kind of a POS for a little bit to her. And even when it was like very obvious that she was right, it's like, dude, You need to take a step back and stop, having to be the only one that's correct here and just let her fix whatever it was she needed to fix. Like, it can't all be perfect all the time. And I think at one point while that was happening, I was like, this is going to be the romantic interest, really?
I don't know if I would necessarily say that it seemed like he flipped a little bit, like once they finally started acknowledging that they had feelings for each other. But I think they also were learning from each other. And she pointed things out about him that I think made him stop and reflect in regards to how he behaved, how he spoke to people, how he treated people. And I think that's a good representation of getting to know someone and having them impact who you are and stuff like that. So I think in the beginning I was like, he's kind of annoying. But then as they started dating, I was like, oh, he's sweet. And like, he really cared about her. And though there was a point where I was like, oh, this is a codependent relationship in the making. Because she started talking to him and she was like, why do you always have to solve everybody's problem? Why can't you just say, wow, that sucks, and just let it be? And so the fact that he was constantly like trying to do that, trying to fix things for people and trying to take everything on and make it his own. And that's why he was always like disappointed or upset or like whatever. I don't know. I think that was kind of like foreshadowing. Foreshadowing for a codependent relationship that's not in the story.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you were going with that. It did not even cross my mind, though, to be honest.
And I really liked, I think I saved it. Hold on. I really liked how she was describing their first kiss. And I highlighted it, and it says, and then he pulls me in and kisses me. For the record, I know time doesn't actually stop or anything. I know the world doesn't revolve around me, but for a second, it's totally cinematic. Like we're the stars of our own movie, and all the people dancing around us are celebrating us in the same way we are. The sun is high, and the joy is sharp, and everything is rich and saturated and glittering, technicolor and exhilarating. Us in the universe connecting symphonically in that kiss. It's like everything we've ever learned about force and physics, about materials that connect, about strong bonds and magnetic ones, about gravity and mystery. I've always believed that there's a possibility for everything in the world to collide for a single perfect moment, and that sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to have one for yourself. This one is ours. I just thought that was...
And I found out it was cringy.
What? No,
it was beautifully written. Don't get me wrong. It was very beautifully written. But I was just imagining these two teenagers kissing for the first time. And it just like, I don't know about you, but first kiss on every single one of my boyfriends was awkward as fuck. But
who wants to read an awkward as fuck kiss?
It would have been more realistic to me. So it was just like, that kind of kiss is the kind of kiss that I imagine on like my wedding day, or I don't know. But as a first kiss, I was just like, I was cringing inwardly, because I remember I was driving to work when that scene came on, and I was just like gripping my wheel because like I couldn't forward the audiobook. But
okay, here's why
it was a very beautifully written scene, though. I will give you that.
Here's why I didn't think it was cringy. Because, like, if I do think, I've always feared first kisses. Like, I hated them, and I'm not the type of person that wanted to be asked. Like, if somebody asked me, can I kiss you? It would be a no. It would be an immediate no. Like, you just made it awkward. Don't ask me. I'm not saying yes, no. So, like, if there was some kind of anticipation of like, oh my God, this dude's going to kiss me, it would be like really awkward and weird. But he kind of caught her by surprise in the moment. And I think like she didn't have time to feel something. She didn't have time to anticipate it or to think about it being awkward or weird or like, oh my God, he's going to kiss me. I don't know. It seemed perfect. And I like the way it was described.
I'm not gonna lie, that scene also reminded me of like those Asian dramas that I love to watch, like the Korean dramas when they have their first kiss after like episodes of anticipation. It reminded me of that. But yeah.
No comments from Chloe.
No comments on this part.
But I was
you
just
know,
like,
I kind of see both parts really of like the cringe and also like, wow, that's really nicely written.
It is. I really like the way she described it. I just thought maybe not for a first kiss, but I do like the way she described it and everything. So I like how she wrote that scene.
Is there anything else we wanted to touch on with this book?
it was pretty short.
It was a
Yes.
very easy read.
Yes.
For me.
Something nice and easy to start off the new year.
Yes.
I think I would actually reread it though. Like, I think it's, because as I was reading it, I was like, a lot. I've been thinking, let me just read my YA books so I can start getting rid of them and unhauling them. And so as I was reading this, I was like, am I going to keep this? Am I going to want to reread this? I think I might want to reread this.
Do you have a copy of it?
I can't believe, first, sorry, completely off topic. I can't believe the word unhaul actually came out of your mouth.
Right?
Like,
I've been hearing her say that for weeks, and I'm like, girl, I want to see this happen.
Right? Yeah. Should do an unhaul video.
So yeah, I really do want to like prioritize my YA so that like the ones that are like 3 stars, I could be like, okay, I read it. I'm not going to read it again. I can get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I was comparing my my stats between 2022 and 2021, and the difference in the amount of YA versus adult that I read is insane. Like I think in 2021 it was pretty even. I think it was around like 70-ish each, but last year it was like adult was like in the 90s and YA was in like the 40s or the 50s. It was crazy.
And I'm wondering if like Kat is not necessarily feeling the same that we're feeling because she reads so much fantasy, and I feel like fantasy is like a whole different ballgame. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I really feel that this is just too young for me when I'm reading contemporary, I think. When it's just like the basic.
I mean, I was thinking that while I was reading this book. I was like, can't relate to these characters. But I was also thinking, I was like, I also read a lot of YA, but they tend to be fantasy. So I was thinking that too. But
yeah, because I mean, even like just looking over at my like TBR shelf, all the YA that I can see is, it's Cassandra Clare. It's the occasional contemporary, like if I really like the author, like I see a Jen Bennett, I see the Lady Janies. It's all very selective, and then everything else is just adult at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't. New year, new me, right? So I wouldn't object if you guys start putting more adult into your picks. And I know Desiree, you pick all sorts of like random books I've never even heard of, but
I'm glad I can do that for you.
But adult romance or just adult?
Oh, I mean, well, I'm not gonna like if you guys pick like horror.
I don't want to do that too.
I'm gonna be like, listen, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. But
you mean you don't want to read Priest with us?
She very specifically said she didn't want to read that with us. Also, can I say I've gone to Barnes and Noble 3 times looking for that book, and like all 3 times it has not been there.
You mean it hasn't been in that table in the back corner?
No, that table's not there anymore. It's not there anymore.
What? They were hiding. Listen, they were hiding all the unholy.
They must have sold them all. They must have sold them all because there's no table back there anymore. And like, there's all other books. There's like, Midnight Mass, I think it's called, and then like Sinner, which is like the second one. So like all the sequels are there, but Priest I cannot find.
Listen, you need to go back to that Barnes and Noble, and you need to find the sign that
I'm gonna have to like.
You need to find the sign
that buy
says,
it off of Amazon
because they have an ugly cover one, and I do not want a book with a man's chest on it.
What about the Barnes and Noble site?
You need to find the sign that says, "I feel God in this Chili's tonight."
I did see that.
It was under that book. Because it was there when I was there.
Okay, we should probably do final thoughts on this book before we go all the way to before we end up in hell. Like, I will go. I had not expected this book to make me squeal at parts. And it just it touched my little nerdy heart. And I really liked it. And that's why I gave it 5 stars. And I'll definitely reread it. I really like the author. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to Alone with You in the Ether.
I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed the book, but I didn't quite love it. I think there was just a disconnect for me with the characters themselves. I liked the story itself with, the struggles of our main character getting into a field that is not necessarily always open to her gender. So I liked that part of the book, and I liked other aspects of it, but I think there was just a disconnect with me and the main characters and the love interest and all the characters. And for me, I'm a really big person on characters. I like character-driven books, and so that's the reason I probably didn't love this book as much as Desiree. But I am looking forward to checking out what other books this author has written.
So I give this book 3 stars. It was an enjoyable read while reading it, but ultimately it kind of is just middle of the road. Like, I enjoyed it, didn't love it, didn't hate it. Not a super memorable book for me. That's not to say that I won't necessarily rule out this author. Granted, I have tried to read the Atlas 6, and I'm not sure if it wasn't for me or if I wasn't in the right mindset.
But do you like character-driven books? Because I wouldn't say that you do. I mean, you might, but I
don't know what I like. I feel like I just I read a book and I'm like, yeah, I like that. I don't know.
Because books that tend to be more character-driven, I feel like a lot of people think are boring. Unless you are invested in the character and the character's development, nothing really has to happen. It just really has to happen in the character's head. And I know that some people find that boring.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I was just not in the right mindset for the Atlas 6 at the time, because I think I had a lot of pressure from a lot of other books that needed my attention, stuff that had to go back to the library, stuff like that. So I'm not completely ruling out this author. There's still a chance, especially because she has her adult books. But overall, this one for me was a 3-star. I'm happy we read it, but not super impressionable to me. And then we will quickly discuss next month. I'll actually go in order of live shows that are happening. Well, there you go. We're going to be reading The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon? I can't remember. By Megan Bannon. And the live show for that is going to be on Sunday, February 26th at 6 p.m. on this channel. And then the weekend before, on February 18th, we are going to be doing Pages and Pals over on Kathleen's channel. That is just some reading time with friends. We're not going to be reading anything specific. Just come with your current read. And then on March 5th, Desiree and I are going to be talking about Love in the Time of Serial Killers for the Quarterly Romance Book Club. That is, where was I going with that? Oh, that's going to be on Desiree's channel, which both of their channels are linked in the description below. So make sure you go check them out and subscribe and join us for all of those live shows. But yeah, I think we had an okay start to the new year, and I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for Heart and Mercy, because I'm not sure how to feel about it yet. I still hadn't decided if it was something that I was looking forward to, but I'm going in with an open mind. But thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Booktube Chicks for announcements and updates on live shows and all that jazz. But we will see you all next month for all of our various live shows and for our discussion of The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. Bye.